So TERAFAB is a big project, kind of an ambitious project launched by Elon's company. So basically by Elon. So it is a project between coexist between three companies, basically XAI and Tesla and SpaceX. So it is a chip manufacturing lab, like a big lab where they will test, where they will basically mm, like design, test, manufacture, and improve at the same place. Like it is a big thing because a lot of companies, if you know that, just design chips. They then outsource the manufacturing part of it, and then there are a lot of outsourcing when it comes to chip manufacturing. Now this single alone factory, as stated by Elon, will do everything in just one place. So it is a big deal for him and a lot of the major industry. And because it is going to be in US, right besides the Tesla Gigafactory, which is in Austin, Texas, and they are going to manufacture three kind of chips, that is A15, A16. So both of those chips are will be made for cars. Basically, there are Teslas and the robots, that is their Optimus. That if like you have known, like we have known them for like last 2 years since they have been launched. And then the third type of chip is they're calling it D3. Those chips are will be specifically for space one. So how the space is getting involved in this whole chip, we will talk about that. But the idea behind making this kind of big factory is simple, and like you might have guessed when he announced, and he even talked about that. But yeah, being self-reliant, like it is simple. Making your own chip, manufacturing and testing is a kind of a big deal, and they have the capacity to do it. He has one of the most largest companies in his hand. He's also one of the richest person in the world. So he has capacity, and it is kind of a future proofing for your company too. And so yeah, another reason that Elon states in the event itself, I will link down the event in the description in the show notes. If you want to go check it out, the live stream that they did on X. But so the reason also Elon mentions in the event was industry cannot keep up with the products and the need of chip in his products, basically. So he states that whoever it is making a Samsung, who sorry, Nvidia, whoever is a chip manufacturing out there, they the amount of chips they produce is just not enough, because it's just not enough for their products that they need in the specifically in the future. And the future, he believes, is that they are going to nail the humanoid robot aspect, and they are definitely going to be much more progress. They're going to do a much more progress in D3 space missions, and also with the cars, like they are already doing it. But the thing is, as robotics improve more and more, and the on ground application kind of gets accessible for robotics to do enough, more and more robots will be getting produced than the cars out right now. So millions of, like hundreds of millions of robots will be produced more than the car itself. So they need more chips, and making your own factory like that does not mean that, I feel like, they are fulfilling their kind of an, let's say, they are not definitely not fulfilling their own goal. So it is just kind of an first of all, being self-reliant, I called it, and having their own manufacturing industry and just planting a seed is kind of a long-term goal. So it's not going to fulfill their whatever the demand is what they are going to have. It's just first of all kind of a sense of a message to all other companies that, like, he can do it within himself. I feel like that is kind of a message that I get it from here, is that if Elon was to make his own chip, test it and manufacture it at one place, they can do it in America right there besides the Tesla one. And they have got the land, they have got the permission from the government. So it is kind of an big deal for all industry. Now, like I said, it is a long term plan, and it is uh, also to grow the business part of it. So imagine, it's not just that he will be developing his own chips. Imagine is that every other manufacturer, every other industry that needs these chips in this tech industry are what? Cars, smartphones, and even a lot of the other products in future. Let's say now, let's say Elon Musk, in this specific one factory, it's not just manufactures it but also test it, improve it, or even develop a specific new kind of chips. Like he might sell this kind of chips to other companies that he is making for his own products, that is D3, A15 and A16. But I also believe that he will be making much more chips for the other companies too, like for, let's say, for example, which I think will never happen, but for, let's say, if let's say Apple comes to the Elon Musk, so to, let's say, to the factory and say that we want to this amount of chips from your side, we have our M series and A series and you can give it to us. And Elon Musk will like, yeah, why not? It's a big business deal for them, he gets to make chips for them. Money is just inflow and he just has to manufacture those chips in-house in America. So like making kind of a diversification of your products and of your sources is also a good deal for a lot of other big companies, and also whoever small other companies are growing inside America and all around the world too. Because we saw last year what happened, like with the tariff situation by Donald Trump, and not just all other the countries but also in specifically US countries were also kind of an really big shock and also confused and also kind of an just in a mode of how can we solve this. Now some companies got kind of an uh, some companies like Apple got relief by Donald Trump, that like saying, yeah, I will not have tariff affect your company, due to like if you pay me this kind of, and that situation happened last year. But see, the thing with this kind of a factory is that there are multi kind of an uses. Now in terms of, let's just talk about like what I talk right now is just kind of a future distant goal. I believe that he will be doing with other companies with the kind of deals. But I also believe that this perfectly fits in the business what ultimately Elon is a part of, like Tesla, like XAI, SpaceX, where he's producing, especially the product wise, is humanoid robots, that is Optimus ones, cars that are popular and also good enough, and also the SpaceX, which is highly progressing and one of the most can be the biggest companies if done IPO, that is we have rumor. Now imagine they need all chips inside them, they need powerful chips, they need more and more chips inside them. That is what this just factory comes in right place at the right time for them, where they will not just make their own chips. The benefit of it is that they have the all control of themselves, and the best part about it is that, like again, it just coexists perfectly with their, or they are their the thing is they are their own customers here. It's not that it is that own separate company where it is kind of in building the chips for others and hoping they would buy. It is like kind of a need, it is simple as that. When in a product or in a business you need something and you make that, kind of a simple strategy right there. Like again, it is a long term goal. In next 2 to 3 years coming, they might make their chips at a level where they are kind of an good, he talks about that in the event 2 specifically. So basically this just coexists to fulfill his existing companies right now. Like it will be helpful, like chips are such a big deal for AI right now to run this high amount of large language models for all the companies like XAI, which is a kind of an high performance model with heavy models, which needs to kind of have a good amount of chips, and this is the reason why it's called TERAFAB is just because it has terabytes of power, so basically it needs a lot of power. So if these chips are power up, they are going to take a terabyte of power, which again does not exist. That's why the space one kind of an D3 chips kind of, and we will talk about that later on. But see, you get the idea, right? So basically this whole thing with the TeraFab that Elon is trying to do is just to make and coexist because of the other companies. So basically they coexist well enough so that basically the chips are needed. That's why they are making it. It's that simple. Now the fact that the it is also kind of a rumor that we know that the SpaceX, which under now basically XAI and both X kind of an are together, and XAI is part of SpaceX, and we also have a rumor that Tesla is going to be a part of SpaceX in future. So basically Elon is trying to make a big giant IPO, which will be public, kind of a rumor that we had last month, which will be public later this year or even next year. So it is kind of an also a big deal for them to launch this now before even getting the IPO rumor out, strong rumors out right now, which can be a big deal because it will affect a lot when they are going to be out as a public company. That is also one another angle that I thought, because we had kind of a strong rumors specifically from Bloomberg only, like the day before XAI merged to SpaceX, we got a rumor from like kind of a source from Bloomberg that XAI and Tesla both are going to, there are talks, both are going to be under SpaceX, and SpaceX might have a kind of an IPO and going to be public in next couple of months only. So we had kind of a strong rumors like that from Bloomberg only. So it is kind of an makes sense for them to make another factory in there to make this IPO much more bigger and much more sound like it is a big deal to just what they are trying to achieve here. So let's talk about now the space chips. Okay, those spaceships D3 is also a big ambitious one that he talked about in the live stream, because he talks about in space more power can be obtained because of solar energy, because the sun where a 24/7 solar panels something like that can power those chips a lot, and those chips powering 1 terabyte of getting 1 terabyte of power from those solar energy from the sun can do a lot of more of computing than any other. So that is, like I said, a big ambitious one, because he also Elon states that, like, I don't know too much about it, but Elon states that in the making of D3 kind of chips, it is much more easier to maintain them in terms of it is much more cost efficient than making chips and kind of keep those chips running in on the earth rather than in the space. So basically space is kind of cheaper, because they don't have to think too much about cooling aspect of it, because at space the temperature is so low, and they don't also have to think about the space, basically literally a space. So he talks about they can just more and more send chips out there, and they can power up with 1 terabyte, because these chips will be using 1 terabyte of power, which kind of is non-achievable for now, because even if the whole US whole country can't don't even use 1 terabyte of power. So you get the idea that how amount of power will be needed to energize to even use this chip for computing. So that's why he talked about D3 space chips, about solar ones, where they will use solar energy, through solar panels. And like I said, he also talks about it is kind of an cost efficient. Now his words, not mine. He talks about that specifically in his live stream. So we will get to it, because it's not that we are not going to see in deep that how it is going to be in space, like how cost efficient he is talking about. But he is kind of going to capitalize over SpaceX rockets and what he has right now in his kind of pockets to make it happen, and he also talks about nobody just wants these powerful chips running in their backyard, with those sounds. And I'm just glad he knows the issue, what is happening with the at least he kind of make a joke around it. But it is kind of serious that if you are living near any kind of these data centers, these powerful chips that are actually running right now, I'm not even talking about terabyte, people are suffering because of that. A lot of journalists have made video documents around it, where meta data centers have been affecting people's life besides that. And as more and more government is being approved, land is being approved to these companies, it is going to be difficult. So it is kind of an like I said, when he talks about the D3 chips, it is kind of a really big ambitious one, like down to the line of 4 to 5 years they might be able to do it, especially 3 years. He talks about that now. You know how Elon is, like he the timeline, whatever the kind of an products and also kind of an big things he talks about, it is not going to be same. And there is always going to be the ambiguity of is it going to be really on point or not. And we know the history says it all. Specifically, let's say the recent one was Cybertruck, like the amount of, like not just the delay, but it was announced so way earlier, and there are some cars that are still not out there. But yeah, at least I will say it is kind of an interesting way into the business side. Like I don't know too much about business, like I'm still learning a lot about this company, I'm still going on, uh, like this podcast, this kind of an going into industry is kind of my experience only, like you are seeing. And at least seeing from, at least for now, it is kind of a big move, and I will say it is kind of a big good move from Elon right there to make their own chips, so yeah, let's see how it goes basically. And it is going to be kind of an, I will say, really important one, because Apple is also kind of an has planned to about $500 billion investment in US. And that investment what Apple is planning, we don't know, I don't know that. I need to look back if they have talked about it. We have talked about it like how Apple is going to invest about $500 billion in the US itself for kind of an employment and in US growth of their company. But let's see, because we might see much more self-reliant data centers, sorry, data not data but labs driven, where for the specifically for the manufacturing part, which is a really kind of an, like say, it shows not just a good business part of the move, but it also shows the part of the move like we can do it here. And I believe that, I hope every country, I'm going to take a tangent here, similar to this only. Like the reason why I believe the self-reliant meant is really important for not just the companies all around the world, wherever you are established, let's say in India here, or even in China, or even in US right now, where this TERAFAB is going to be, having kind of a self-reliant, not just depending too much upon one country uh, is not a good thing. Like don't depend too much on it, like having kind of an import and export balance is really important. If let's say the import is so much more, is import of coming from a specific country is so much more, like hundreds of billions of dollars, and export from your own country is going to be less, the balance is does not, if balance is not in favor of you or equal, they are going to be dominant one. And that is what happened in last year actually. So when Trump basically like laid off tariffs throughout the whole world, what happened, like when China had the upper hand around the manufacturing, the factories, the labs, the amount of just factories that China had, and the amount of self-reliant we saw these companies were, it just makes sense that they did not care about the tariff at all. Like it was just back and forth of how the big tariff on each other countries that they were just giving out, because China did not at all care about how US, because they know how US companies are some of the most dependent on them only. So I believe, and that's why a lot of things happen, like Apple tried to kind of an import their smartphones through India, where there are lower tariffs through planes, which they try to do. And Apple is also trying to grow much more here also in India, where there were also strong rumors of Apple being deploying a factory in India too, because China is not reliant now. And then Trump also backfiring to Apple, where you don't like, you have to do manufacturing here or in US only. So that kind of an back and forth when it was happening last year. So a lot of people just saw nakedly how dependently on not just US companies but lot of the other world, like here in India we are also lot too dependent on China. So dependency between countries, dependency between, like, these are larger countries we are talking about, and same is that affects a lot, not just a tech industry but a lot. So I hope you understand that when there is just kind of a larger import export, and if it is not equal or just kind of a balance between, that company who is just have that kind of an upper hand, where last year it was China and still is going to be ruled here, so which will always win the battle in this kind of a situation. So I hope companies all around the world, I think we will be seeing much more kind of an investment, because a lot of companies from Apple, even OpenAI, even Microsoft, uh, and now Tesla we have seen, but they did a lot of deal and a lot of signed contracts with US government that's saying that we will be deploying our own kind of an, like, we will be deploying, like, see, we will be investment, I mean, we will be investing in our own country with billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. And that is what will be happening in next couple of years, not too much of a faster, but yeah, it is going to happen. Like, a lot of companies will be trying to diversify because they saw, I feel like, what last year, what a disaster can be because of just some person is a president right now. So let's see, that was kind of a tangent I definitely wanted to talk to you right now. So yeah, let me know what are the other angles in this whole thing about TeraFab, and what do you think there are other factors where Elon is trying to achieve with this TeraFab factory? I talked about a lot of self-reliant and kind of sending a message, and being manufacturing a chip is a big deal, especially now where RAM prices and where industry is just bloating so much, so the bubble that the prices are increasing. And we might see a lot of price hikes right now. The RAM is way too much, I will say, in terms of price wise high. Last time I see, when I wanted to buy 8 or like 2 16 gigs RAM of sticks, like it was 50,000 rupees of a specific company. That uh, so yeah, it is kind of an higher. You can get it definitely, like, cheap wise if you have deal here and there, but it's not just about us, it's just affects the whole industry overall, and in long term wise it also affects ultimately the user ones, like people like us. So yeah, we will see, I will be saying a lot, seeing any kind of updates regarding TerraFab or any kind of from Tesla, because we have a strong rumor, like I said, Tesla is going to be merged with XAI. Sorry, not XAI. Tesla is going to be merged with SpaceX separately, and so basically everything, every major country Elon, every major company that Elon owns, it will be under same umbrella, will be under same subset. So it is kind of an interesting to move what they are trying to achieve. Let's see, this year is going to a lot of unfold, like, a lot of big decisions are being made. So yeah, this is it, I will say, for TerraFab. And we will take a break here, and after a break we will be talking about the obvious one, the Sora app shutting down. So we will take a break here, I will be right back.